So we left off in the previous session talking about the 3 strikes of Donald Trump that caused him the election. All right. So the first strike was the way in which Trump handled the people coming for refuge from Mexico. The second strike was when the pandemic came, coronavirus hit. I remember hearing about this virus in China way back in the summer. It started off small, but then it kind of grew into something that became a global pandemic. So when they first heard about the pandemic, our wonderful President Donald Trump, he played it down as if it was a hoax, as if it was something that the Democrats was doing to get him out of office, to hurt the economy. Okay? So, since Trump didn't believe and he didn't act until after it had really hit the nation. Now, by this time, it hit the pandemic had hit this nation so bad that I remember myself getting. I know I had COVID-19 probably twice. I know they say you're immune after the first time, but I had a ripple. I had first. It may have been a regular flu the first time, but the second time I got it like back to back. The second time I got it, I felt like I was going to die. I didn't want to eat. I had chills. My body was aching everywhere. My head, everything was hurting, right? And this was in late November, early December. So then January came around, and then that's when the word was out that there is a coronavirus, COVID-19, and then I was like, and New York was a hub, and I was going to New York every week delivering milk without a mask, going in public places and so forth. So I know I contracted it from New York. I know I did. So that was the second straw of Donald Trump's downfall. The second straw was the way he handled the COVID-19 situation. Now, the third straw that broke the camel's back was when George Floyd, remember I said 3 strikes, you're out, right? When George Floyd was killed, was assassinated, was lynched, and I don't care what you say about what he did. He was a thief. He was a thug. And that. Listen, there's a legal process to deal with thieves, crooks, thugs, whatever. There's a system that we operate through. We go through the judicial system. Okay. You don't take a man's life in the street in broad daylight and then play it down. So that was the third strike that cost Donald Trump the election under his watch. Okay? The world was already angry with him anyway, but then now to add to it, you got 3 strikes. Now you got a third strike where the people that didn't vote for him might have voted for him if he had handled, but the people that voted for him the first time didn't vote for him the second time. Some of the people, I should say, like that, not all of the people, because he got a lot of votes. But a lot of people that voted for him in 2016 did not vote for him in 2020 because he failed to deliver in the eyes of the major portion of people that had faith and belief in him, right? So Donald Trump, he failed. And that was his third strike. The George Floyd's situation. I want to add, it was the primary 3 strikes, but Don't forget Charlottesville. That added a little fuel to the fire because people already was agitated. But the way he handled the last situation with George Floyd, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Now, Trump knew he was done. He knew he was done. So what he did was he tried to set up the stage where he said, and he kept saying it. I remember back in the summer he was trying to contest the voting by mail because he knew that the people that wouldn't necessarily come out to the polls during the pandemic was going to mail in their ballots, and the mail-in ballots was going to cost him the election because the people that wanted him out was going to vote by mail. So Trump tried to set up the stage. He said he is going to win the election, and if he doesn't win the election, it's because of election fraud. That's what he said, right? Now, Trump said if he didn't win the election, it would be because of election fraud. He kept saying that. So much so that Senator Bernie Sanders said it like this. In a talk show, I forget who the talk show host was, but he told the talk show host that he said, here's what's going to happen in the presidential election. I'll leave a link down at the bottom. You can watch it. He said, here's what's going to happen. The day of election, Trump is going to be leading the polls. And he said, but when the votes come in the mail, all the states that were red are going to flip to blue. And Trump is going to say fraud, election fraud. So when that happened, the people that's been paying attention knew that Trump was going to say election fraud. And that's what happened. Trump cried fraud, election fraud. And that's what happened. Right? He cried election fraud. And that's what happened. So he kept pushing election fraud. Now people got on the bandwagon. Those people that was for him, the evangelical mega pastors, got their people involved, and they started a protest, stop the steal, just like the Democrats did 4 years prior. I'm going to tell you that there's election fraud in every election, because not massive election fraud, but dishonesty is in the system. We know that as a fact. But to the magnitude of the extent in which they have accused massive election fraud has been disproved in the court system. There was the allegations with dead people voting, and with people having the wrong address, and people's signatures not matching their ballots, and all kinds of things. And then Dominion voting was involved. They flipped votes from Trump to Biden, etc. And then that played out. And now the latest is Obama's involved now. He was in cahoots with some governor or official in Italy that had the vote switch from Trump to Biden. And that's where we are now. Okay. I'm going to come back. I'm going to cut this one short. I'm going to come back and close out my talk politics. Okay. So stay tuned.